the networks were against it. It went against the conventional thinking at the time of what a children's special, what a Christmas special had to be.
Many would not think of Peanuts animated specials being unconventional, but with the first ever Peanuts cartoon, the 1965 classic A Charlie Brown Christmas, they broke the mold of all Christmas specials that came before or after it. While the special has been a holiday mainstay since it first aired, it was actually nitpicked and put down from the beginning, thanks to all its qualities that set it apart from traditional Christmas fare. Against the odds, and all the people in high places who had the lowest of expectations, A Charlie Brown Christmas became one of the most famous holiday specials ever. In this video, I go over the making of A Charlie Brown Christmas, the struggles it went through, and the rewards of Schulz's unshakable confidence in his acclaimed 1965 work. Coca-Cola had been looking to sponsor an animated holiday show. The company's advertising agency, McCann Erickson, suggested doing one based on the comic strip Peanuts, due to the comic strip hitting its peak in popularity in the 60s, gracing the cover of Time in April 1965. Coca-Cola liked the suggestion and gave the Peanuts team a call, giving A Charlie Brown Christmas a corporate sponsor, like many TV specials at the time. Excited to make the renowned comic strip into a cartoon, three people very important to Peanuts came together. Of course, Charles Schulz, creator of Peanuts, but also Lee Mendelsohn, a TV producer who became close with Schulz when developing a Peanuts documentary that never came to fruition, and Bill Melendez, an animator who had previously worked with Schulz on Ford commercials featuring Peanuts characters. The sponsor had actually wanted a full-length hour-long special, but the short turnaround time of a little less than 6 months for production limited the option, so Melendez asked for it to be a half-hour instead. As Melendez had only directed 30-second animated shorts up to that time, he didn't know how to budget a TV special. No worries though, because a budget was given for him, $76,000. This amount, as high as it may seem, especially thinking of the time it was made, was actually below the norm. In the mid-1960s, holiday specials would usually get a $150,000 to $250,000 budget, with Charlie Brown getting half the typical amount and a tight production schedule to match. The $76,000 budget was not realistic, and the team ended up going over budget, spending almost $96,000 instead. With the tight deadline looming over them, the trio immediately got to work on a story outline. Schulz came up with the Christmas play part, Mendelsohn the ugly duckling of a tree aspect after reading Hans Christian Andersen's The Fir Tree to his children just before working on the special, and Melendez suggested the dance and skate sequences. Vince Guaraldi was picked to provide the special's music to be used, in addition to classic Christmas carols, after providing the music for the unproduced Peanut stock. The biggest theme of A Charlie Brown Christmas is its critique of the commercialization of Christmas, something Schulz was dead set on including, which he illustrates through the aluminum tree lot scene. In addition to the special's critique, Schulz also made it a point to make the special be about the reason for the season. Informing his decision to include the scene of Linus giving a speech about the meaning of Christmas that included dialogue containing verses 8 to 14 of the second chapter of the Gospel of Luke. While Schulz was steadfast in his inclusion of Bible verses, Mendelsohn and Melendez were less sure. When told that Linus would recite verses, Melendez told Schulz this: "You know, I don't think animated characters have probably ever read from the Bible." To which Schulz replied,
"Bill, if we don't do it, who will?"
I can't think of any secular cartoons even after Linus' scene that have included Bible verses, proving Schulz's point and ensuring that this special would be distinctive from any other. With important story decisions made, animating was next, which turned out to be more difficult than planned. Bill Melendez was determined to have the animation look the same as Schulz's comics, which turned out to be very complicated because the two mediums did not always translate easily. Specifically, the biggest issue from comic strip to 2D animation was, of all things, Charlie Brown's round head, which animators struggled with when the character needed to turn around.
"You blockhead!"
Consequently, Snoopy had a bigger part in the special because he was much easier to draw. The majority of animated shows and specials at the time of A Charlie Brown Christmas's production had a laugh track, so it was assumed by the network and Mendelsohn that this one would too. When this was brought up to Schulz, he silently left the room and then came back sometime later without bringing it up, which was all the answer the team needed to get the decision on the laugh track. Schulz believed that the story would stand on its own, with the canned laughter having the potential of ruining the special's sincerity. The Voice of Snoopy was done by Bill Melendez, after some persuasion of Charles Schulz, with Melendez coming up with the idea to talk in gibberish and then speed up the recording to sound higher pitched. This would set the tone for Snoopy's voice for decades, with the character being voiced by Melendez for 40 years to come after the special. For the kids' voices, that was a harder job. It was decided that children would play the kid roles, a departure from many cartoons where young characters were actually played by adults. Likewise, they wanted non-actors for the roles, picking those that had voices that embodied the qualities of the characters they were playing.
Ugh! I've been kissed by a dog!
Some of the voice actors did not know how to read yet, or the ones who did struggled with some of the more difficult words of the dialogue, necessitating Melendez to tell some of the kids their dialogue one by one to then recite themselves. They actually rushed the recording of Sally's because the actor who played her, Kathy Steinberg, had a loose tooth, and Bill Melendez was worried if the tooth fell out and she still had lines left, it would sound like there was a lisp in some scenes. When the recordings were taking place, the band Jefferson Airplane were recording next door, who were excited to meet the kids and ask for their autographs. Who knew Jefferson Airplane were such big Peanuts fans? Midway through production, a McCann-Erickson executive wanted to see what they had so far, so the trio showed him a preliminary draft done in black and white drawings with no music. The response from the executive was, "This isn't very good," and warned them that Coca-Cola would have wanted to cancel the project altogether had they seen it for themselves. Melendez, Mendelsohn, and Schulz were able to get the executive to not tell the rest at McCann-Erickson of his thoughts, so work continued. While the special's creatives were getting some harsh words from their sponsor, the music was being done. The opening song, Christmas Time Is Here, was intended as an instrumental, but Mendelsohn thought it was too slow and sad-sounding on its own, so after songwriters passed on the project, Mendelsohn in just 10 minutes came up with the lyrics. Guaraldi commissioned the Children's Choir of St. Paul's Episcopal Church in San Rafael, California, with each child receiving just $5 for their work, which would be about $50 today, so not bad for those kids. An out-of-tune version of Hark the Herald Angels Sing was used because they thought it sounded more in line with what real kids would sound like. With the deadline approaching, Melendez and Mendelsohn got more and more nervous, worried that they had, quote, ruined Charlie Brown. Lee Mendelsohn recalled in an interview,
"We all thought we had ruined Peanuts. It seemed very slow and it was too religious, blah, blah. We didn't know."
It was finished just a week before it was scheduled to air, which turned out to be important to the fate of the special. With a little less than a week before it would be shown nationwide, CBS executives were shown a screening of A Charlie Brown Christmas. The reception from the suits was bad, like really bad. They disliked just about everything and thought that the transition from comic strip to cartoon didn't work, with one former executive, Fred Silverman, remembering,
"The general reaction was one of some disappointment that it didn't really translate as well as we thought it would."
To start, they didn't like the music, thinking the jazz and piano didn't belong. Additionally, they thought the voice performances sounded amateurish and hated that the dialogue featured the Peanuts kids saying long words.
It's run by a big Eastern syndicate, you know.
Thinking it was unrealistic and strange for child characters to say. Ironically, they also took issue with the kids not being polished enough. Also, the pacing was too slow for the execs, and there wasn't any action. Because if there's one thing people associate with Peanuts, it's Michael Bay-level action. Most of all, the tone was completely not what they had envisioned. As many Christmas specials tend to be, the suits expected a funny, cheerful special, and what they got was a clinically depressed 8-year-old having a Yuletide existential crisis.
I know nobody likes me. Why do we have to have a holiday season to emphasize it?
One aspect that is contradicting accounts of if CBS had an issue with it or not is the inclusion of Christianity in Linus's meaning of Christmas speech. Some say that the religion part made the executives nervous, while Mendelsohn himself said that it didn't bother them at all. I personally would take Mendelsohn's word for it since he was the one who was front and center. Since they had already scheduled it for the next week with no time to alter anything, had already paid for it, and had a corporate sponsor to please, CBS was going to air it despite not liking the final product of what they were shown. However, they didn't leave Schulz, Mendelsohn, and Melendez without some harsh final words for them. It would be the first and last Charlie Brown show, with only one airing to be given. Despite CBS's hatred of the special, and Mendelsohn Melendez's fears, A Charlie Brown Christmas aired Thursday, December 9th, 1965 at 7:30 p.m. To everyone's amazement, the special received a crazy amount of viewers, 15 million to be exact, which accounts for half of the viewing audience at that time.
To put it simply, half the US watched. CBS rethought their whole last Peanut special statement and immediately ordered 2 more specials that would air the following year. One of them being the beloved It's the Great Pumpkin Charlie Brown. The specials would keep coming, totaling nearly 50, with almost every holiday getting time to shine. The success of A Charlie Brown Christmas gave Schulz, Mendelsohn, and Melendez free rein for future Peanut specials, with Mendelsohn commenting, "We did whatever we wanted to do. In our business, that's craziness. We did one on cancer. We did one on war. We were just given a free ticket for half a century and try to honor that by being entertaining, but also being important and educational." A Charlie Brown Christmas won an Emmy and Peabody Award, 2 very prestigious awards, especially at that time. At the Emmys, Charles Schulz said in his acceptance speech,
Charlie Brown is not used to winning, so we thank you.
Considering that Charlie Brown was often a stand-in for Schulz, and the naysayers the special encountered throughout production, that statement has an impact that makes the success of the special even more satisfying. The once-derided soundtrack of Vince Guaraldi's contributions went on to sell 5 million copies and is now part of the Library of Congress. The special's message was so well received, and the special itself so widely seen, that aluminum trees, a target of Charlie Brown's ire in the special, decreased in popularity so much that it led to them being taken off the marketplace just a few years later. Maybe it's not totally Charlie Brown's fault, but he does play a little part in aluminum trees' downfall.
Good grief.
The 50s into the mid-60s were a time of economic prosperity, fueling the demand for consumer products that culminated in widespread materialism and consumerism.
Considering these cultural changes during the era, Schultz's anti-consumerism plot point likely hit home for many viewers at the time, and was a welcome reminder to focus on the less material aspects of the holidays.
In today's consumer-driven culture, the special's message is just as relevant, if not more, than it was in December 1965. Just a little fun fact that I enjoyed learning was that the special had a very surprising fan, Jim Morrison. The Doors frontman loved the special, particularly the character Linus. He even invited the family of Linus's voice actor as guests to his concert. To say that A Charlie Brown Christmas has impacted American pop culture would be a massive understatement. There has been countless spoofs and parodies.
Oh, sick, dude!
An insane amount of merch, including commemorative stamps, which is ironic considering the main point of the special was against commercialism, but okay. Several appearances in the Macy's Thanksgiving Parade, a flash mob, and has been an adored household tradition for decades. There were 3 other Peanuts Christmas specials made, but none were close to capturing the lightning-in-a-bottle success of the original. A trademark of the holiday season, whether it be the classic songs, or the characters, or the film's anti-commercialism message, the honesty and innocence of A Charlie Brown Christmas, along with the previous qualities, appeal to audiences in a way that feel-good specials couldn't capture.
Moreover, the special's immense popularity and unique attributes among the Christmas specials catalog make it a perfect example of the amazing things that can happen when you trust your instincts and trust in your art. Had Schulz listened to any of the executives, or even those around him that were nervous about certain elements, it's arguable that A Charlie Brown Christmas would not be the cultural icon it is. To this day, there aren't many Christmas specials that are like the first Peanuts cartoon, preserving how singular it is, thanks to one man who knew the value in believing in himself, even if it was counter to his nature. Charles Schulz had a lifelong history of self-doubt and depression, but he never wavered when it came to Peanuts.
And felt that nobody would ever care about anybody who looked like me because my face was so dull and so bland. There's something wrong with somebody who thinks like that, isn't it?
Are you insecure at all?
Oh, there's no doubt about it. I would love to be unanxious.
What are you anxious about?
If I knew, I would tell you.
He knew all along that his Christmas special, the little TV special that could, would be a hit because of, not despite of, all the qualities the TV executives took issue with, like its music, voice performances, story, tone, and pace. A Charlie Brown Christmas leaves a legacy, with 2 parts actually. The first being the special itself, and how it has and will continue to entertain people for years and years to come.
The best definition of art, isn't it? Does it speak to succeeding generations? Real art, real music, real literature speaks to succeeding generations.
The other part, which is inherent in this Christmas story, is that as long as you believe in your work and your vision, it will find its audience. And that audience may be bigger than you ever could have imagined.